Cost optimization and autoscaling is one of the most important concepts you can learn when it comes to Kubernetes. Any modern, production-grade Kubernetes cluster is going to implement both of these features. In this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know to get started with autoscaling and cost optimization and how you can implement it into your Kubernetes cluster. So whether you're a DevOps engineer, an SRE, or just anyone that's working with Kubernetes or wants to learn more about how you can implement these type of features into Kubernetes, you're going to want to watch this video. Now, the first thing that we want to go over is what autoscaling exactly is in Kubernetes, and then we'll get into the cost optimization portion. So cluster autoscaling is actually a pretty simple concept to understand when it comes to Kubernetes. Basically, all it is adding additional nodes to your Kubernetes cluster as your workload increases. So as new pods come in, additional nodes are added to your cluster to match that workload. An autoscaler will also scale in your cluster as the workload decreases. Now, there's tons of different options for which cluster autoscaler you use. The first option is the official Kubernetes cluster autoscaler. That's what it's called. It's a very creative name for an autoscaler. It lets you know exactly what it's doing. Another option that you may have heard of is Carpenter, which is an open source one developed by the team at AWS. And this is a way to autoscale your EKS clusters. But if you're looking for a more well-rounded solution, then you may want to look at a product known as Cast.AI, which is a cloud-based cluster autoscaler and cost optimization solution. Now, a little bit about cost optimization since I haven't touched on it. Basically, this is getting the most out of your Kubernetes cluster for the least amount of money. The way cost optimization is accomplished through Cast.AI is by autoscaling to make sure your servers are never over-provisioned, choosing instance sizes that are the most price appropriate for your workload, and constantly moving your workload around to make sure that you are never wasting resources. There are also several other features that can be implemented for more cost optimization, like using ARM and Spot instances when possible, and even setting a schedule for when your cluster runs. Now, any type of cost optimization solution should come with some sort of cost monitoring, and Cast.AI brings that as well. What cost monitoring does for you is it allows you to see where you're spending all your money. So it gives you a high-level overview of what your Kubernetes cluster is costing you, how much each of your workloads and namespaces are taking up, as well as how much your network traffic is costing you, whether that be intra-AZ network traffic or cross-AZ network traffic, which is extremely important to know when you're running a Kubernetes cluster in something like Amazon. So wrapping together the features of autoscaling and cost optimization is just something that makes sense. And as we go through the video of how I set this up for my Kubernetes cluster and how you can set it up for your cluster, all these different features are going to start to make sense why they work together. So let's go ahead and hop into Cast.AI. All you have to do is create an account, and once you have your account created, you can connect your cluster. So when I got started with Cast.AI, all I had to do was go to their website and then log in with my GitHub account. Once I was logged in, I went up to the top right and I hit Connect Cluster. From there, you just choose what your cluster provider is and then copy and paste the script into a terminal. This installs the Cast.AI agent into your cluster, and it's all you really need to do to get Cast.AI up and running. Once Cast.AI is up and running, you're able to implement features such as cost optimization and autoscaling. So let's have a look at that right now. Alright, so to enable autoscaling, once you have your cluster connected, you can just go into your cluster and then just go over to autoscaling. And from here, enabling autoscaling is simply just turning this switch to on. So it says unscheduled pods policy. So when we enable that, what it's going to do is it's going to make sure that all our pods have a place to run. So if there's any pods that are not scheduled, what Cast.AI will do is it'll start provisioning new nodes for those pods to run on. So I'm going to hit Save Changes, and you can see that everything was saved, and now autoscaling is enabled on my cluster. Now, another feature that you're going to want to enable if you don't already have this enabled by default is the node deletion policy. And this is going to save you a lot of money. Basically, what this policy does is it removes nodes when you no longer need them. So in today's environment, if you're using Kubernetes, most likely your workload is a dynamic workload. So there's going to be peak times during the day where you need additional nodes, but there's also going to be dips in your workload where you're not getting as much traffic. And when that happens, you're going to want your autoscaler to actually remove those nodes so you're not paying money for them. Now, another really good cost optimization setting that you should be enabling is the evictor. And basically what this is going to do is it's going to continuously compact your pods into fewer and fewer servers. So you're not going to have lots of pods, just single pods running on lots of different servers. It's instead going to compact those workloads into fewer and fewer servers, so you're not paying for big servers that are not using all their CPUs. Now, a good thing about this is it's only going to evict pods that have multiple replicas, so your application is not going to see any downtime by using this evictor policy. But if you want to compact those pods, even if they don't have multiple replicas, you can enable this aggressive mode. Most of my applications do have multiple replicas, so I don't need to enable this on my cluster. Now, the final setting that I'm going to go over here is the CPU limit policy. And this is an extremely important one to implement. A lot of people don't set the floor and the ceiling for the amount of CPUs that their Kubernetes cluster is going to run. And if you don't do that, a single misconfiguration could cause your cluster to scale infinitely. I've seen this happen at multiple places that I've worked, and it can be a very expensive lesson when someone makes that misconfiguration. So whenever I'm configuring any type of auto scaling, I make sure to set a maximum amount of nodes that can actually be provisioned, just so one of those misconfigurations doesn't cost so much money. All right, so now that we have auto scaling enabled, let's go on over to node list and have a look at the nodes that have been added. So here we can see our cluster is running 2 nodes now, and they were created 8 minutes ago and 3 minutes ago. So these are new nodes provisioned by Cast.AI. So the types it chose was M7A medium and T3 medium on-demand instances. So it decided this was the best pricing and best sizing for my Kubernetes cluster. Now, if you want to get into additional savings, head on over to the Available Savings tab. You can see already with just the auto scaling enabled that I'm in the optimal savings zone, but there is a couple different things that you can implement to add additional savings. So the first thing here is you can consider to use spot instances. Now, all you need to do to enable that is enable it, and then you have 2 different options here. So you can enable it for all your workloads, or you can just enable it for your spot-friendly workloads. Now, my recommendation here is that you choose the spot-friendly workloads only because a lot of applications can't support spot instances. For instance, if you have a production database, you probably should not have that running on a spot instance. Now, if you have a stateless application like a web server, then that is a workload that you could run on a spot instance and have those additional savings. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can mark your workloads as spot friendly, but the easiest way that I've found is to add a taint toleration for spot instances. Once you add this to your deployment manifest, Cast.AI can identify the workload as spot friendly, and it will put those workloads on your spot instances. Now, there's a couple more options for your available savings. The next one is to do with ARM support. So basically, if you enable this, you can start using ARM-based instances, which are usually cheaper depending on your cloud provider. It might be a little bit cheaper or a lot cheaper. This is not a feature that I use a lot, but the next feature is one that I use all the time, and that is to use a cluster schedule. So if you enable this, Basically, what you can do is you can have your Kubernetes cluster run on a certain schedule. And this can be really good, especially for lab and development environments when you don't have your developers working all day, every day. So if they're only working between 9 and 5, it makes sense to only run your Kubernetes cluster between the hours of 9 and 5. Just enabling this one feature can basically save you half the cost of your Kubernetes cluster. So this is one that I love using for development environments and sandbox environments, those environments that don't need to be running all the time. So if we scroll down, we can see all our cost optimizations here. You can see my savings are quite significant when you compare the current cluster compute cost with the optimized costs. Now, if you want to get more into what is costing the most money on your Kubernetes cluster, you can head on over to the cost monitoring tab. So if you go here, it gives you sort of a high-level overview. You can see here we're at the start of the month, so my current month spend is pretty low, but my monthly forecast is at $45, and I'm saving about $2 a day using Cast.AI. Again, this is a very small cluster. If this was a production cluster, your savings would be a lot more significant. Now, if you want to get into the details of which of your workloads or which of your namespaces are costing the most money, you have that information available to you. So if I go to workloads, you can see we get a graph of the cost of each of our workloads. Now, this is a newly provisioned Kubernetes cluster, so it hasn't had enough time to gather the data of how much each of these workloads have been costing, but you can see that it organizes all my different services here. So you can see Core DNS is costing me this amount per hour. And if we scroll down, we can see how much Argo CD is costing me and all my different services. If we go to namespaces, you can see which namespaces are costing the most money. And basically, it's just having a look at the CPUs being used per hour and associating a cost with that. All right, so that's the basics of setting up Cast.AI. So your Kubernetes cluster has auto-scaling as well as cost optimization. One of the big benefits that I enjoy the most about using a solution like Cast.AI is it's super simple to set up. You saw how easy it was just to create the account and connect your cluster, and then you have auto-scaling out of the gate. Basically, you just hit that radio button and it's all set up for you. So that's something I really like about Cast.AI, as well as how it implements cost optimization with the auto scaling. So usually when you're setting this up for Kubernetes clusters, you usually have to come up with two different solutions, something like Carpenter plus another cost optimization tool. But with something like Cast.AI, you have everything integrated into just one tool. So it really sort of simplifies your cost optimization and auto scaling, which I think should always be coupled together. Now, some feedback that I do have for Cast.AI is, although it's simple to set up and, going through a GUI is great, I really like having everything codified. So it would be nice if I could somehow get my configurations exported to YAML. Maybe every time I make a configuration from the console, maybe if I was able to output it to YAML, store it into GitHub, and then just apply it using some sort of GitOps procedure, I think that would be really cool. Maybe they'll come up with something like that in the future. I think time will tell. Anyways, if you had any questions on this video, anything about auto scaling, cost optimization, or using Cast.AI, please let me know in the comments below and I'll try to get back to you. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.